Wow, right on time. Just about right on time. So here we are. It's Monday morning. The book is done. There's no um, website, which is a staging website. It is not the final print edition. That will be um, something you see with the final print edition. It's a place where I stage the book. I figure out by looking at it on the web. I look at it and say, "This I need to work on. This I need to work on this. This page needs to be replaced. I need to redraw. I need to write this," and it becomes a working draft. So I've got that done. The epilogue comes with the final print. Yeah, that's my dog. He's a corgi. He thinks everybody should be playing with him, rubbing his belly. He's a sweetheart. Anyway, um, so I've got five. This first book will be comprised of five issues, and those five issues will be expanded. They'll be beyond what you see on blueboybrown.com. If you go to blueboybrown.com right now, you will be redirected to a to Kickstarter, and you can sign up to be alerted for the beginning of my Kickstarter campaign, which is gonna rock. It's gonna rock. Oh, what's this live in 4 minutes? You guys don't know what you're doing. It's 10:01, guys. November. Sheesh. There. Yeah. Sheesh. Okay. I'm checking things out on my phone. Hopefully, I've got my. Anyway, so I'm gonna have five issues, but right now I've got about like 148 page webcomic, but it's going to be about a 200 page, uh, about 200 pages with the five issues. So I'm going to add at least 50 pages of new material. Uh, and so that's going to be one of the reasons why you should get a print edition because it's going to be super cool. And I this first issue is going to really rock. I'm going to have it's just going to be gorgeous. So today I'm working on reward prints, things that'll be like add-ons. You can get these things, and they're like really high quality archival prints that'll last with archival ink and paper that'll last 200 years, and that's long beyond that, you and me. So that's what I'm doing today. So I started this on Saturday night. It's Friday or Saturday night. I don't remember what it was. I think we've been something like that. Anyway, so I got a movie of it, and then I'm going to work on it after I get the movie. Part of this movie, I was just goofing off, so I'm gonna start it, but then I'm going to make it twice as fast as it should be, and then where I know that I'm goofing off, I'll speed it up even faster. So I just started from a simple gesture drawing, just a simple contour line drawing that I did on a piece of etching paper. Is this etching paper? It's right over here. Yeah, it's like a domestic etch, which is really fine drawing paper. So it's just this little thing here, and maybe I might offer it as an add-on. It's not a major drawing or anything like that, but if somebody wants to buy it in the Kickstarter campaign, I'll let it go for real cheap because it's not real involved. The other here, I need to fasten this up to 5 times because I think I'm goofing off here. But it's not as involved as some of the other drawings that I'm gonna be offering in the Kickstarter campaign. Oh, I'm gonna put this as a comment so you can just link to it. I mean, uh, huh? Son of a gun. Okay, save, show, and then comments. And how? Okay, how fast do I have to make this thing go? Because I'm goofing off there now. This thing would just do this real quick, so we don't have to do this all day long. Okay, so maybe I can make it a little. Yeah, maybe I can do it like that. 5 times as fast. That way, you don't have to sit through me hemming and hawing. So on the 12th, we start the Kickstarter campaign, and I'm, going to some Facebook groups and Twitter and stuff like that, and talking it up, and telling all my friends and relatives and things like that, which is what you're supposed to do. And so here I'm. Let me see if I can get rid of the side. Yeah, you don't have to look at that. And so I'm just using my left-hander's contour drawing, modeling, stuff like that. I mess around with his eyes a lot. Helps this is just digital, so I can undo and redo, which you can never do with thinking. Good old sable brush and Pelican or Kohinoor's ink. It's pretty permanent, unless you got a little bit of a whiteout with you, which I'm not crazy about whiteout. See, I did that, and I said, I don't like that. His nose is too defined. Just leave his nose alone. So I have to get all of the after I get all the line drawing done. This is all going to be mainly freehand. I've got a few places up here where I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put that there, but I didn't get to. I wasn't too decisive in my preliminary drawing. Didn't feel like it was necessary. So this is where I'm Barry Allen. Barry Allen doing my flash thing. And I'll slow down to get out of the speed force in a little while. This doesn't last. This is about an hour long thing, and I'm already up 26 minutes. So I'm going 5 times. So I only got about 8 more minutes to go. And then I'll get on to just drawing. And I got it far enough along so I can actually do that. I'm feeling good. I've been working on this book for many years, but on the graphic story, been working on it for 2 years. And so now I know what I'm doing. I've been away from comics for 4 years, so you got to get your chops back. I had some chops. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to comic journals' attention, and nobody would have said a thing about me. And if they hadn't said anything about me, I might have just let this go. But after looking, what I did is many years ago, I was in. It took me a long time to get out of undergraduate school because in the '70s, every time there'd be a recession, and there was a lot of them, college kids got fired, and I couldn't figure out for the life. You'd be working someplace, they say, "We gotta let you go, man," everything, and I just got discouraged and everything. But I finally figured out I gotta find myself a profession as something that is immune to recessions. And I found it in being an orderly, taking care of invalids. And then I was able to get through college because there's an unending supply of invalids and people who are in desperate need of somebody who can help them. And when you're 6'3" and weigh 210 or something like that, um, you know, they're going to hire you. I never had any problems having a job after that. So I got through college, but around the time that this article, I got mentioned in this article, I was at a, I was in, I had finally gotten back to college, and I was going to get through, and I got through. But as I was doing all this stuff, this article comes out, in which I'm mentioned in a way that nobody else was mentioned in the Everyman Group. It was the New Wave survey of comics with an X at the end, and it was basically got small press, underground types, uh, independents in the '70s, and I'd left comics. I just said this is not going to work for me, and I discovered um, etching. I discovered etching, and that was my best medium. I was pretty decent as a painter, but etching I just adored. And so this kid walks up to me and says, "Are you the Dave Taylor?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Here, take a look at this." So he showed me this article. And I said, "Yeah, I'm that Dave Taylor. I guess I was the first Dave Taylor. There's another Dave Taylor, a British guy. He's done Batman and everything like that, and he's rocking and rolling you good. He's really good. But I'm probably the first Dave Taylor, though I have given up my rights to Dave Taylor, even though I was mentioned in the article as Dave Taylor. That's he's earned to be Dave Taylor. I'll be David Greg Taylor. Anyway, I like the name Gregory. And so this kid walks up to me, and I go, "Whoa, look at this!" So it lamented that I left comics. Said that I was probably a major talent, and even in 1985, just said, "Well, it's too late. I don't see any venue for this, and I don't want to do superheroes." I was into underground comics and that stuff. I was, you know, the San Francisco stuff, and hung out with Gilbert Shelton for one day, which is about the best thing I ever did in comics. Was a member of the Everyman Studios group, a real minor member because I wasn't, you know, I'm not even in their histories, even though the most successful of them, acknowledge that, yeah, he's an Everyman guy. But I hung out with Rick Barry and Artie Romero and Daryl Anderson, Kirk Kennedy, and that was the main group back in the early '70s. I was only there for a couple months before I headed back to Missouri and finished up my comic, and took a while to find somebody to publish it because there was you know, a whole thing about underground comics and head shops and stuff like that fell apart in the early '70s. The government was after them. So I just looked at it in '85 and said, I don't see any venue for me here. So I left it alone for the next 35 years. No, 33 years till 2018. 2018, I was looking over these stories I had written. I'd written a novel and a bunch of short stories related to it uh, about this kid who was just just right on the edge of being a teenager. But he was 6'8". And eventually going to get even bigger than that. And I had to. It was based upon somebody from my family. My family's real big. Nobody's under 6 feet tall in the whole family. I'm 6'3", and I'm the little one in the family. My brother's 6'7". Now my dad is only 6'1", and my uncle, my favorite uncle, was 6. But I've got 6'4" uncles and a 6'4" grandfather, and uh, you know, everybody's big. My niece is close to 6 feet tall. Everybody's big. So you got this story about this family of lumberjacks, which is actually a semi-true story. Though the things in the book are fiction. You know, I know some of the and I did a lot of genealogical research on them. And the Mennonite part, that's true. Got Mennonites in the background. And they were the first people to come out against slavery. I'm kind of proud of that. And so that's where this story comes from. What happens when a Mennonite goes off to war? Mennonites we're talking about the Civil War. Mennonites were, um, yeah, I'm almost done. Mennonites were drafted into the army, but they would shoot up in the air. Whereas this kid goes and, okay, here we are. Now, get rid of quick time right now. And here we are right now. Here. Um, so everything starts with this kid in the Civil War. What did I do with that? I see. Okay. Why don't I bring you down? Yeah, I'm going to put those together. Otherwise, I know I'll screw it up. Okay. Now let's see what I got here. Yeah, not bad. That's good. Okay. So this gave rise to a series of stories because the whole thing about the Civil War is just the jumping off place is where we start. Eventually, it becomes a battle between good and evil, which isn't that what everybody's interested in? Good and evil, except my good and evil is real good and evil, not superheroes fighting and destroying cities and everything. I'm talking about my evil characters are really evil. I'm talking about evil that's happening as we speak. There are people like that in the world. There's nobody like Lex Luthor in the world. Not really. Uh, oh, there might be some nefarious billionaires out there seeking, but the Lex Luthor I grew up with was a evil, mad scientist or something like that. The greatest criminal mind of his time, as Gene Hackman said. And that's just silly. And there's no Superman. Sorry, Superman is just a fantasy. But the stuff that I'm talking about, it's not a fantasy. And so, as I developed this, I in 2018 I did this little drawing in my sketchbook of this character. that was in reality my grandfather's brother, who was this humongous, wonderful man. And they're all lumberjacks. And so I did this drawing of him, and it turned into Blue Boy Brown. He had several names for that. I decided eventually to be Blue Boy Brown, mainly because of the Gainsborough painting, which it's just a gorgeous piece of artwork. It's really beautiful. That's a cool name. I searched a long time for a decent name. And so, and then it just morphed into, um, I developed connections between some other stories I'd written. And, and then I saw how I could morph this into a saga covering 150 years that deals with this evil that stalks humanity. And ain't that what all this is about? All these stories are about this evil that stalks humanity, without ever really dealing with this evil that stalks humanity. Always makes it into some kind of, thing that could never exist. Darth Vader, all that stuff. But I liked Star Wars and everything like that. But come on, that's just a. I think it comes from my time doing underground comics, which I never got really deep into underground comics. All that, you know, kind of goofy stuff that everybody's playing out sexual fantasy. I never did that. I never interested in that. In fact, my story in Hobo Stories, my lone standalone comic, was really about good and evil, but I was too young to really know what it was about. I did predict that there would be a movement in the future that sought to restrict human freedom. But those things have been going on forever. There's always somebody who says, no, no, you can't be free. But the horrible thing is people don't understand freedom. What is freedom? And I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to show you what it is in the stories. Because don't tell, show. Because I teach art history for people who are not going to be artists. And I talk heavily about the ethics of art. What is art supposed to be doing? And art should be telling us how to get to our final destination, which is not the movie, not the movie at all. It's our true goal in life. What everybody wants is to be happy. You don't want to be anything but happy, do you? How do you get there? Aristotle says that if we knew what happiness was, we'd be heading towards it immediately. We would not stop for anything. We would not let, and we'd, since we knew what the target is, we would always be able to readjust our lives when we make boo boos, because we will. Just the very fact that we are driven by sometimes our emotions, and I got to have this, I got to have that, I got to have this, got to have it right now. And then we realize that we've been bamboozled by this these desires that are mostly, just part of being human, and they're necessary. These desires, and it's mostly for who's going to reproduce with who. Look at how much evil has been created in this world because everybody's fighting over who's going to reproduce with that person. I can't let you reproduce with that person. I'm going to reproduce with that person. At least try. And so people are going to fall off the rails, They're going to screw up. But then if you know what your goal was in the first place, you can restart, get up and get at it again. So it takes a while to figure that out. You don't figure it out. Few people figure it out when they're young. Some people do, you know, ethical geniuses. And I know of some. Gotta fix that a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit, yeah. Okay, I have this desire. See, desire? To buy either a Wacom or an X Pen tablet so I can increase my production. I can speed up my production time because this takes a while. This took me 2 years. I can't read 2 years of each book. It'll take about a year for all these various comics to come out if we're doing them in 40-page increments. But I want to have a year from now, I'd like to have the second book ready to start making its debut. To do that, I'm going to have a either a Wacom or an X Pen. I've looked at the market, and I think there are only two that's worth having. The Wacom's awfully expensive. I'd have to get awful lucky, or maybe somebody to want to trade a Wacom tablet for a piece of original art or something like that. That's happened. People have done that, and I actually have had sold individual little drawings for the amount that it would take to get myself one of these tablets. So maybe I'll get lucky and somebody will say, "Hey, I'll send a Wacom tablet your way if you give me a couple of pieces of original art from this comic." So I could do that. We'll see how that happens. Then I could get this thing going a lot quicker as I work on this probably on Wednesday because I'm not doing Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore. I might do it on Thursday, the day that I launch my thing. I don't know. I might. I don't know. Might do that. I might have my show on that particular Wednesday. I mean Thursday. just so I can keep pumping it up. Let's see. And I was looking at that last time, and this is a little too. Yeah, try midtones. Well, okay. Do 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 do. Let me see. I should probably get this back. See the whole thing. Yeah, good. I got the comments section up here. Who's is it Twitch or is it Facebook's looking at me? It's oh, it's me. It's me on it's me on YouTube. What a bummer. And every time I do this, I have to change watercolor brushes. Yeah, sort of like that. Okay. Okay. Do 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 do. This is the edge of the porch, and his. I gotta get rid of that. This whole area here has to go. It's gonna be about a 13 by 19-inch print, which I'll either print myself because I got a really nice archival digital print set up, or I'll farm it out if I get too many responses and it's too much work to do it, and then we'll see what happens. Okay. Okay. Do 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 do. I'm not drawing with these. Drawing with these things is not easy. With these Wacom tablets isn't a natural thing. I do best. I just do it like that. I know it's real messy, but I'll fix it up. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to get rid of some of this. One of those lines. Still want to make them kind of sketchy. Real sad that Sean Connery died over the weekend, but at least he had a good long life. And he seems to have been surrounded by his family when he left. So, if you're into praying, pray for his soul. Seems like there's been a year for the death of famous people. Dang. And man, I've had so many friends die this year. A lousy, lousy year. Hopefully 2021 will be a little bit better. Dang. Hey, hey, maybe the Dolphins have found themselves a defense. That's the key. You got to have a defense, or you don't give your offense a chance to do anything. And yesterday, uh, the Dolphin defense was pretty dadgum good. Pretty good. The offense didn't even have to do much. And the Rams really kind of dominated uh, the time on the clock, but they made so many mistakes in the first um, half, and then they never really came back. What was it? Was it 28-17 or 28? Yeah, it was 28-17. They never really came back. They only had one. What? They only had one touchdown in the second half. And the Dolphins didn't have anything. They didn't need anything. They just needed a defense. That was a good way to get to a win for his first start. We may have ourselves a quarterback. I got to get rid of that little dinky thing right here. I got to make smallness right there. Get rid of that. Okay. These things are important. Okay, now I got this thing looking sort of decent. No, that is not. Yeah. So boom, 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 boom. This down like that. This will go down like this. So I don't need all that. I must have had something else in mind when I drew that. Okay. Just back out a little bit because I can't have this going. I mute this a second so my foster daughter asking for a cranberry doesn't become a big deal. had to unmute for a second because my foster daughter was asking for something. And I think it was a big deal to everybody should know what she's doing. Anyway, thank you, Leo. Appreciate any of the likes. If you want to, please go to blueboybrown.com and it'll redirect you to my Kickstarter pre-launch page so you can be alerted when I go live and see whether or not you want to support the campaign. I'm going to have some really cool stuff up there. Original art and prints and add-ons, and I'm going to produce some stickers because people love to put stickers on their laptops these days. And you get to become a member of the Tree Punk Club. Tree punk is a lumberjack term. It's a person who climbs up the tree and lops off all of the limbs so that when the tree is felled, all those limbs aren't coming around and knocking everybody in the head and hurting everybody. It's a lot easier just to do it that way. And I don't fully understand why you would want to do that, but they did it that way. So they're called tree punks. And so I looked and thought about what to call the newsletter fan club. And so I decided on tree punks. So punk is a, you know what punk means. Hey, punk. And so tree punks, perfect. Yes, thank you, Leonardo. I appreciate it. Oh, are you following the Kickstarter thing? Because I need buzz. All you guys are digging all what I'm doing and kind of want to follow along because it's going to take a decade for me to do. It's going to be a long process. You know how the Marvel Cinematic Universe took 12 years or so to come together? Well, that's where I'm coming from. Except, and man, I have just a cavalcade of characters that I've created that you haven't seen yet for this series. It's going to be outrageous. I've already created the characters and everything like that. I'm just waiting to develop them in the way I want to in the story. It's going to be so cool. Okay, a little bit of that. Fortunately, this will all be printed probably digitally, so you get really high quality. Get real high quality printing. It's an amazing thing about how printing has come from the days I was doing underground comics when you're printing on newsprint, the same kind of newsprint that you would get at the newspaper. And it was just the cheapest printing you could get, and now they got print right on your desktop. You can do prints that just blow your mind. And you can get up to like 13 by 19 inch on just a regular thing that you'd buy at Office Depot. Now, if you wanted to spend $1,500, you could do 64-inch wide prints, but not much call for those. I decided not to buy one of those. Love these pressure sensitive tablets. So got that going for me. Okay, I gotta get this kid his how am I gonna do this kid? He's just a little boy. I want him to have two. I might just erase this entire area. Just go for it. Just wing it. Ah, ah, ah. Okay, that's a little better than it was. Yeah, that's a lot better. That'll work out. That's a cool part about just doing a contour drawing and then develop a contour drawing with hatching and cross hatching. And all that hatching and cross hatching, if you do it right, all that sloppy line work you did, it becomes a part of the process and looks good. You have to, Cezanne said the whole thing about being an artist is bringing the work that you're doing within your own means. Everybody has a set of strengths that they have as an artist, and it is limited. Nobody has all the chops. There's only one Michelangelo. There aren't too many Leonardos out there. So we have to figure out how we're going to do this. So here I have this just playing around with these kind of loopy line drawings that have a lot of quirkiness to them, and I can just take parts of them and make that into a strength by making that loopy line into kind of a cool area like that, where it doesn't embarrass me too much. So, just so I can actually talk about something. Um, my whole point in this series is to grow this in a natural way. Naturally, in nature, things grow from seeds, small things that turn into huge, fully developed things. An oak starts with an acorn, the good old mustard seed parable that Jesus talked about, things like that, things that naturally occur and become huge. Like my brother was once a zygote. My brother, who's 6'7", was once a little seed in the womb of my mother, and he turned into this huge honking big guy. And Andre the Giant used to be like that, and all these big guys were once little dinky things. And that's the way nature is. These little dinky things turn into something really interesting. And so that's where I'm coming from in this. That's why I'm starting out with it in smaller issues, not this big honking big graphic novel thing, but just in little 28 to 40 page things, because I'm no big deal. Nobody's beaten the path to my door yet. And if they do, it'll be because I put out something beautiful. So that's my whole point at the beginning of this, is to produce a comic book, just a little 40-page comic book. I think it's going to be about a 40-page. It'll be 36-page plus covers. The cover's going to be gorgeous, too. And my first issue, I promise you, is going to be drop dead gorgeous, beautiful beyond recognition, just beautiful beyond your wildest dreams. I'm gonna make sure every page just sings like nobody's business. All this is gonna be in shadow when this will all be in shadow, so it doesn't need to be that defined. So when I get finished with this, it should look like a very detailed painting, which I've been able to do with things like this. That's where I'm heading. That's going to be, I'm going to be doing a lot of redrawing and recoloring of this first couple of chapters of the book, which is what the first comic's going to be. They're going to all be in that vein. So that's where I'm coming from. That's why I think it'll be worth following along. I think that was okay. That improves it because his hand was bulged out way too much there. I was impressed with it at first, but then I kept looking at it and saying, "Something wrong there?" Yeah, yeah, better. So glad I didn't give up being an artist, which was a possibility at several times. It was tough some of those years because I was just glad I became a high school teacher. Gave me time to kind of establish myself as a. You don't get much artwork done when you're a high school teacher. It's just real tough. You just so much of your efforts go into teaching and dealing with kids and paying mortgage and stuff like that. You know, you don't get much done. So, uh, what we got here? Let me look. Uh, Maybe I need to kind of straighten that up a bit. So, all that background sound in Spanish is my little foster daughter saying, "I don't want to go outside and walk. I want to stay right here." She doesn't like to go out and walk too much. So I got this thing going where I'm just not going to worry about uh, whether or not an engineer would approve of my architectural drawings. When you're an architect, you got to get run the whole thing past an engineer. Uh, Look at that. I should probably rotate that. I get a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit better lines there. Okay. So, okay, this. I'm going to make these real rough and gnarly because these people are poor and they didn't get the best lumber for their house. I kind of like this gnarly drawing stuff. Okay, Okay, reset the window. Thank you, Leo. This is Leo. This is I've got a bunch of add-on rewards stuff that I'm doing for my Kickstarter campaign. So I'm doing a bunch of these things that are 13 by 19 or 11 by 17, and then I'm going to offer them as you know, you buy this, you get everything else. You buy this for $35 or something like that for limited edition print, but you also get the comic and you get the PDF and you get membership in the Tree Punk Club and I can probably stickers and junk like that, and lots of stuff that I'm gonna be adding to all this. So I'm just doing these because I finished the book. So why not do a bunch of really cool illustrations that are connected to the book that I can offer as a way to drum up interest or more opportunities to support the comic. Cool part of this watercolor, digital watercolor brushes, you can use it like you were doing an ink wash. If you press hard, you get this kind of an ink quill point. But if you fill in with a light pressure, it looks almost like ink. Maybe I can shave some of the messiness of that line off a bit. There. Ow. About 50 minutes before I have to sign off from here. See how much I can get done in that time. Otherwise, I'll put the rest as a screen recording on QuickTime and just show it at double or triple time next time I'm in here. I'll color it on Wednesday also. Start a next one, which will probably be a big illustration of Blue Boy. I haven't done that much of him so far. Well, I did. Let me see if I got this. Did this last week or week before last, something like that. Last week or week before last. And then I did a few weeks back. Oh yeah, I did this. Oh, that's yeah, I did this. And then I stopped this twirling beach ball. Okay, then I did Mare Down. I'll have to find that. To find the. I did this. So this will be a big 13 by 19 inch deal. So I'm just trying to, get a bunch of things together to kind of augment the book. And like I said, this is going to just take time. I think I'm producing quality stuff. I think the story's quality. I think I'm in my late 60s. I have learned how to tell a story over the years. It's not just, I learned how to set up the characters. I've learned how to do what's called exposition, which is introducing the characters to the reader in such a way so that when you use them later on in the story, the reader recognizes them and kind of has an understanding of why this person might be behaving this way, or why that character is used in that manner. And so the whole first part of the book is introducing you to parts of the family and stuff like that, so that you understand this. And then this whole thing about the Civil War. And how that plays into it, and how one thing like that can be something that colors the rest of your life. Since Grandpa is not exactly a war hero, I'm not trying to create some kind of, Sergeant Rock here. Grandpa, like a lot of us, he's screwed up along the way. And ain't that the way life is? Not too many people haven't screwed up somewhere along the way. Okay, I have to twirl this old guy here. So I have to bring this up. I have to do something to the edge of that hat, so he right now that's just the original pencil scan. It's a little too clean. Ooh, doo, 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 doo. It's cool that at an angle this becomes so much easier. It's cool also, Nate, that over on YouTube, I got an entire archive of all these things I've done. All these in fact, I ought to put it up there. What is the I do this viewed on YouTube? Yeah, I can. Continue to YouTube. YouTube. Just quiet. Quiet. Oh, this is the actual archive. That's not what I wanted. Big dummy. Switch count. Blue Boy Brown Comics. Okay, guys. Blue Boy Brown Comics. My panel. Yeah, Jiminy Cricket. Anyway. Here is the entire archive is up there on YouTube. You can see it sort of on Facebook, So it's just uh, spread out so much that it's difficult to find. But on YouTube, it's easy to find because they're all there on a channel. And so I'm sort of doing this for the sake of history. This is what I'm doing has any significance. If it's cool and people will like it and would like to remember it, well, there's how it was done. I'm yammering and talking about it all the time up here, so that'll be my little contribution to the history of comics, which I'm sure it's being done all the time these days. It's not like I'm some kind of trailblazer. I remember it's funny. The issue in which I was complimented by Dale Luciano has a whole thing on Jan Sternad, who, when I was just a little guy, 19 years old, he was an acquaintance. I met him up at Richard Corbin's studio back in '72. I went up to Kansas City with Artie Romero. We interviewed this guy, Richard Corbin, went down to his basement, saw his whole setup, the whole 9 yards. This guy is awesome. What he did is he did these little figurines of all his characters in Sculpey clay or something like that. They were really nice, and he would use that as sort of like his model sheet. And Jan Sternad was there. They were writing together. Sternad was writing, and Corbin was illustrating. And Sternad also was in this issue that that Artie Romero put out. It was just a fanzine, Realm 5. And he was talking about how without a story, comics aren't worth a pitcher of warm spit. And of course, at the time, I said, "What?" And of course, I was saying, "Art's everything." No, it's not. Without the story, it's kind of boring. You gotta have a great story. The work is not gonna hold the reader. So that's one of the things I've been working on in this run up to where I'm able to produce comics again is being able to tell stories, which is why I took up short story writing. I studied short stories and read short stories, and had a few published, but nothing to write home about. So now I'm really sold on the idea that you've got to have a great story. You have to have a story that has legs. And for me, it's got to go beyond just some kind of children's story. Children's stories are cool, but never could write them. It's just I was just that whole period in which we were doing underground comics at Everyman Studios just kind of made me into a adult comics guy. Not adult in that adults only. Talking about kids aren't going to be able to read this stuff and really understand what I'm talking about. They might dig it. I don't know. But it's geared to the sensibilities of an adult, mature reader. This building here, I'm just creating out of my head. So that's the way I'm going to do buildings from now on. I'm just not going to worry about whether or not an engineer would approve of them. They're just going to be these things I put together. I'm not working for the comics. I'm the writer, artist, editor, and publisher. So what I say goes. The same way I like this thing. I just made it up. Not gonna mess with it to where it has to look like it would stand up in a windstorm. Well, let me look at that. Oh, I like that little building. Anyway, where's the top of that there? Cool thing happened over the weekend. I have an old friend from Pratt whose brother, when I just got to New York in '87, her brother was working for Neil Adams. And so I visited her brother at Neil Adams' advertising agency. And I didn't give a hoot about the advertising agency. I got to meet Win Mortimer. This guy, Bob, introduced me to Win Mortimer. And that was just so awesome. I just looked at him and says, you just don't understand how much I admire you. Win Mortimer is like one of the great DC artists of all time. I just loved everything he ever did. And I told him, I just love everything you've ever done. And he was very appreciative. He was an old man by that time. And they were working for Adams because the comic industry doesn't treat artists very well. And he was making a decent living with Adams. And so was my friend Bob at a real young age, in his 30s. I got to meet Win Mortimer. Dang. So this friend that introduced me to Win Mortimer, we reconnected on Facebook over the weekend. Man, I don't know if you are into the history of comics, but Win Mortimer did some of the greatest Superman and World's Finest covers during the 1950s ever. He was just so good. Batman also. He just did everything just so beautifully. Everything was just so well done. He just so I probably yammered on this before, how cool it was to meet Win Mortimer. I never met Neil Adams. You know, you're up there to see one of his employees. He's not gonna come out there and talk to you. But meeting an old time master cartoonist. At the time, I wasn't interested in comics. Going back to comics, I was there to get a master's degree in painting from Pratt. But man, I still had a great admiration for guys like Mortimer. Oh, these guys, so good. I think that was the only time I ever met a comics artist while I was living in New York. I met all types of fine artists and stuff like that. I knew Dorothea Rockburn and Pat Sutton, and people were Ross Nair was one of my teachers, and Kent Flater was one of my teachers, and I knew Raffaelli and stuff like that. But in comics, man, it's the only time I think I ever got to meet a great comics artist while I was living there. I met great comics artists like Jim Steranko at comic book conventions, but that was back in the 70s when I was just a pup. I didn't know how to even talk to a person like Jim Steranko back then. Come on. The old hand. The old hand. I should do that. I should twirl that dang thing. What the mess I'm making. Dang. Where was I? Oh, here. Actually, I should probably do it at an angle. Yeah. Come on, guy. Do it right. Well, best it's going to get, I guess. Ah, ah, ah. Okay. I think I might be able to get this thing done. I've got about 25 minutes before I have to get out of here. Starting to get there. Yeah. Uh, oh, I see. I did that. Yeah, better step that. Okay, I always have to change when I go over to another screen. I have to change my watercolor brush. I don't know why. There, back to messes up my watercolor brush. Yeah. Okay, let me see. See a few things I can do up here to accentuate these guys. We could dodge this a bit. Wouldn't hurt anything. Uh, to more fully answer Leo's question, is comic or illustration? There's a good chance that what I'm doing is these little posters, these little prints, will make them themselves. They'll find their way into the comic, but I'm planning on doing full page illustration frontispieces for many of the chapters, probably all the chapters. That'll just be, the chapter, and then it'll just be this illustration, and then chapter 3, blah blah blah, and then the name of the chapter. So that may be what I do with these images. This one's called Ode to Grandpas, because don't we love our grandpas? I know I was nuts about mine. I lost him 55 years ago. And not a day goes by I don't think of him. For 55 years, hasn't been a day gone by I haven't thought about him, missed him. I'm sure if you've lost your grandpa, you feel the same way. And if you haven't lost your grandpa, go give him a big hug. Be thankful for him. Grandma, too. Because they go together. Okay, this looks pretty decent. Can I live with that? I think so. Okay. So I'll be back on Wednesday, and we'll color this thing. Okay. So, okie doke. Let me see. Do I have Okay, that's where it is. So I will be back on Wednesday to color this and take a look at here. Take a look at that. Go to blueboybrown.com. It'll redirect you to my Kickstarter pre-launch page, and you can sign up to get an alert when we launch, and then you can see whether or not you want to support my efforts in getting this first issue out. So there we go. So I will see you on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Have a great one, guys.